We've now got a monster panel on elevating IT's role to support the ESG mission of your organisation.
As you might imagine, as the largest conservation charity in Europe, ESG is hugely important for us. It's not just a core pillar of our strategy, it's actually what our strategy is all about. So we're here to protect nature, beauty and history for everyone forever. So in order to do that, we've got to have pretty demanding targets for both ourselves, but also the partners that we work with. People get very quickly, when we start talking about ESG, they get quickly diverted into carbon and conversations around carbon. Hopefully today we're going to broaden that out a little bit.
Jackie, can I get your thoughts on what ESG means to you and the role within your organisation?
So first of all, I hate acronyms. I think we need to stop saying ESG because a lot of people don't know what that means and therefore aren't addressing things. So I work at the Royal College of Art, and there's two ways I look at this. One is how we as a business are thinking about it, and that comes right back to looking at how we get funding, making sure that's ethical, making sure we're partnering with the right organisations, how we're doing a lot of things in running our organisation. Second to that is around how we are changing the way we do research and teaching, and that's absolutely critical for the planet going forward.
Again, we look at it from two perspectives. One is our own consumption as a business and what we do in our dining rooms and our flight and our travel. But relatively speaking, that impact change, even if we did the most dramatic change, wouldn't be huge. But the impact we can have is through education. We have thousands of students coming through our doors each year, and by and large, they go on to become leaders of the world's businesses, almost guaranteed. And so ensuring that sustainability, so we refer to it as sustainability rather than ESG, largely one of our faculty is in the press every week saying ESG is dead, ESG is not relevant in terms of the metrics and the reporting and so on. But we talk about it as sustainability.
ESG is very much at the heart of what we do. This is an important topic for me, actually. I think you can do an awful lot with tech to make that happen.
We developed something called a green IT model, and it was all about modelling. And some experts would probably say to me, you can't measure exactly the carbon footprint, but I have this expression, it's good to be broadly right than precisely wrong. So modelling is a very good way of deciding your footprint and then deciding how much you can reduce it by.
Colin, how have you seen that evolve or rise up the agenda? Because it does depend by industry, doesn't it, as well? Some industries like DOMS will be very front of mind, but perhaps if you're in your logistics, IT's impact is not as front and centre as the day-to-day.
Yeah, completely. When you look at the carbon footprint for a particular company, it'll vary a lot by industry. And I think one of the challenges then for the IT organisation is, in a particular industry, they may be just a small part of the overall footprint for that company. So they can start to feel like what I can do to green IT isn't going to have a significant impact to the company footprint overall. But there's two sides to it, and I think Ruby's just sort of gone through a great some statements which go beyond a lot of people I talk to. I mean, when you get to green IT, as you said, we've all been talking about green IT for a long time. That isn't a new thing. Actually doing the carbon accounting around the IT estate is new. So they've got to get their own estate into focus. Green IT, look at what you're doing in your data centers and so forth, but then try to work out what impact you can have across the rest of the business. And there you might get into avoided emissions and so forth, which is much more complicated to calculate. So there's a huge opportunity for IT, whatever the industry sector, particularly in that last bit about looking at what impact it can have with digitalization across the business.
Understanding of, the curation of the data from a sustainability perspective, how that can then be utilized, how it can be shared with others. That's something that technology leaders can bring, I think, to any organization, and particularly when we work together, because, as technology leaders, we're also consumers of technology. I don't think there are many organizations that provide all of their own technology completely in-house, and they consume it all. So we're all dependent on each other. So that sort of, community that where we can get together and share best practice and be a bit more transparent about the challenges that we all face. I think we've got a hugely powerful role to play.
As an organisation, we need to think about IT leaders in a different way, about how we're transforming the whole company and what kind of skills and expertise do you need in order to enable them to make the right decisions to transform from a sustainability perspective.
If you can get your sustainability strategy aligned with your data strategy, then you've got the opportunity to measure, of course, what are you currently consuming and how are you reducing it, and have visibility and dashboards. But also the ability to draw the thread across the organisation.
In IT, also don't want ESG to be a swear word or a swear acronym, because it does become a cottage industry of reporting. And Danny's right about data strategy and whether you need a widget or a detector to collect every bit of information. But it's also, in depending on who owns you, shareholders have absolutely desperate for ESG information, but they want different ESG information. So you're in every business, you're in danger of becoming having an ESG reporting function. In fact, we have a person dedicated to ESG reporting, which is nuts, and we need to get away from that. But yeah, out there in just my experience, I might be wrong, but it's not really, because the subject's so huge and the volume of data and the different things you're supposed to measure for ESG is so varied. Vendors don't quite get it yet. And there aren't necessarily platforms or, people will say they do ESG reporting, but it's not true. You can't cover everything.
It's more about a social contract, isn't it? Every company, every business has that social imperative to do good for society. Well, they should do. Going back to companies that have purpose-led ambitions and they trickle down to the employees. For example, Lloyds Banking Group has a value which is all about sustainability and being ethical. And that all trickles down all to my objectives, my team's objectives, everybody's objectives. When it comes to using IT for social good, there are many, many projects out there.
People talk about this being the decade of action. So I think that's like a great slogan for all of us. We've actually got to move past PowerPoint slides and strategy to actually get these things done. I think it's been amazing to see how much focus there is on this from everybody at the moment. So it's really changed the conversation in the last year. So inside of Cisco, sustainability has now become a 5th customer priority. So it's up there with securing your enterprise and transforming your infrastructure. Sustainability, we recognize, is something that's important to all our customers. Where would I like to be in a year from now? I'd love to actually start to see the curve of greenhouse gases start to turn and start to come down. At the moment, that's still heading the wrong direction.